I'm a beta. I found an omega with amnesia and took him home as my husband. His memory came back not long after he got pregnant. The man who had always been so gentle and affectionate turned cold and cruel. Don't think you can trap me with a kid. There's no future for us. The minute I get home, I'm getting rid of this thing that never should have existed. In that moment, I knew. The dream was over. When I got back from the grocery store, there were several cars parked downstairs. I gave them a weird look as I pulled out my keys to open the door. I just stuck the key in the lock, not even turned it yet. The door swung open. I was met by an unfamiliar face and a hostile tone. "You're Gavin?" The way he asked made me wonder if I'd gone to the wrong apartment. "Who are you? Why are you in my house?" Oh no, Rain was home. Don't tell me this is a home invasion. I panicked and tried to push past the man in front of me. "Then, don't bother yelling. Mr. White is waiting for you inside." He cut me off, stepping aside to let me in. The living room was much darker than usual, crammed with men in black suits. A heavy, oppressive feeling hung in the air, making my chest tighten and my heart race. I anxiously pushed past them, searching for the one person who could put me at ease. The Omega was sitting on the sofa, still wearing our matching pajamas. He looked up at me. Those eyes, which were always smiling, were now filled with a coldness I didn't recognize. After a single glance, he looked away. My throat went tight. "Then," the alpha next to him spoke impatiently. "You don't have the right to call my brother by such a familiar name." My breath hitched when I saw the man's resemblance to Alexander. After a moment of silence, I forced a stiff smile, trying to lighten the mood. "Oh, you must be Rain's family." Vincent's face was expressionless. "I'm here today to inform you of something. For the past 6 months, you knew my brother had amnesia and couldn't find his family. Yet you never called the police or reported it to the Omega Protection Agency. Instead, you repeatedly manipulated and deceived him, causing him significant mental and physical harm. Gavin, tell me, do you think you should be held legally responsible for that?" What was he talking about? 6 months ago, I found Alexander during a hurricane. He had a head injury and amnesia with no ID on him. Out of the goodness of my heart, I took him to the hospital for treatment. It cost me almost every penny I'd saved up over the years. After he recovered, the moment he saw me, he'd whisper softly, "Husband." That scorching term made me trip over my own feet, and I nearly fell flat on my face. Looking at his beautiful, flushed face, my own face burned and my heart pounded. I tried to pry him off me, stammering out a denial. "I'm not. Don't call me that." As if to defy me, he called me it again and again. I took him to the police station, hoping they could help find his family. But he clung to me there, sobbing his eyes out, accusing me of abandoning my Omega. The cops actually thought he was telling the truth and were about to lock me up. Then he stopped them, sniffling. "I'm sorry, officer. We just had a fight. I made him angry, that's why he brought me here." He turned back to me, looking utterly pitiful. "Husband, I know I was wrong. You can't leave me." On one side, a heartbroken Omega. On the other, a tall, sturdy beta. Anyone could see who looked like the bad guy. The police gave me a lecture and told me to communicate better with him. Terrified of what other scene he might cause, I had no choice but to take him back home. He couldn't remember his name. I thought about the weather the day I found him and decided to call him Rain. So Alexander ended up living with me. I treated him like a younger brother. But he always insisted he was my Omega. A beta and an Omega? How was that even possible? I pretended not to hear him and just worked harder to earn more money so I could give him a good life. I thought this quiet life would continue until the day his memory returned. But an unexpected heat shattered the peace. I came home one day to find Alexander gone. Normally, the sound of the key in the lock was his cue. He'd be waiting by the door to give me a big hug the second I walked in. I searched every corner of the house. Finally, I found him hiding in the closet. All the clothes were soaked. It was only then that I sluggishly realized it. The Omega's heat had arrived. Even though I couldn't smell pheromones, the air felt thick and syrupy, as if you could squeeze water out of it. Alexander's face was flushed as he huddled in the closet, burying his nose in my clothes. When he saw me, he complained. "Gavin, why did you get back so late?" He stumbled out of the closet and wrapped himself around me like an octopus. For a second, my mind went completely blank. I even forgot to push him away. He nuzzled his nose against the side of my neck, sniffing me like a puppy. "Gavin, please, help me." The way he said my name sobered me up a little. I pulled him away sharply and laid him down on the bed. I didn't dare look at him for more than a second. "Rain, I'll give you a suppressant shot." I forced myself to stay calm as I gave him the injection. After the shot, I helped wipe the sweat from his brow and tried to lull him to sleep. But slowly, the Omega's heat fever only intensified. The scent became so strong that even I, a beta, could catch a faint whiff of it. Mango. It made my head spin, and I could barely think straight. Alexander burrowed into my arms again, his damp breath washing over me. He kissed me, clumsy and inexperienced, murmuring incoherently. "Husband, it hurts so much, wah." The last thread of my self-control snapped at the sound of his cries. I held the small of his back, my voice low and husky. "Rain, you're going to regret this." "I won't." He smiled sweetly and pressed himself against me. I made him a solemn promise. "I'll take responsibility for you." After that out-of-control heat, my relationship with Alexander had fundamentally changed. What I had considered a brotherly bond became the partnership Alexander had always insisted it was. The days flowed by slowly, sweet as honey. Still, it all felt unreal, like I was floating, until one ordinary morning. Alexander fainted right in front of me. My heart leaped into my throat. Without a second's delay, I raced him to the hospital. While we waited for the results, Alexander was still unconscious. My mind was consumed by fear, but what came next was completely unexpected. The report showed it wasn't a major health problem. He was pregnant. That heat had left us with a fruit of its own. Before I could even process the joy of the pregnancy, another test result came in. The blood clot in Alexander's brain, the one pressing on his nerves and affecting his memory, was shrinking. The doctor said he would likely regain his memory soon. In that moment, I felt both happy and devastated. The amnesiac Alexander would love me and be happy about the baby. But the Alexander with his memory restored was a total unknown. I could almost see it. The real, complete Alexander would never fall for an ordinary beta like me. Someone like him deserved the most outstanding alpha. I could only force myself not to think about it, and keep telling myself that the clot disappearing and his memory returning were wonderful things I'd always hoped for. As for the rest, I didn't dare think too deeply. All I could do was take it one day at a time. But I never expected Alexander's memory to return so quickly. And just as I had thought, the Alexander with his memory back didn't love me. I had only stepped out to buy the fruit he said he was craving last night. When I came back, I found his family had come to get him. "Mr. Chun, I'm speaking to you." Vincent's voice pulled me back to reality. My mouth opened, but my eyes were locked on Alexander. The sweet smile was gone from his face, replaced by a cold indifference. "Brother," he said, his voice cool, "you don't need to say all this to him." Alexander's gaze fell on my face, his expression detached. "Gavin, I have my memory back. This is over." "Okay, I know," I heard myself reply, my voice dry. My fingertips dug deep into my palms as I couldn't help but look at his flat stomach. Inside was the child we had only just learned about. "But you..." His gaze followed mine, landing on his own stomach. Alexander's face filled with revulsion. He rested a hand loosely over his belly, his brow furrowed. "Don't think you can trap me with a child. There's no future for us. When I get back..." He paused, his voice dropping several degrees colder. "I'm getting rid of this thing that never should have existed." His icy words were like a sharp knife, slicing through my last shred of hope. I took a deep breath, slowly lowered my head, and gave a bitter smile. "I understand. I'm sorry. I never should have." Before I could finish, his brother, Vincent, cut me off coldly. "Enough. What good is an apology? Can it undo the harm you've done to my brother?" "Wait, when did I ever harm Alexander?" Is that what Alexander told his brother about me? I subconsciously looked at Alexander. He averted his eyes and crumpled the pregnancy report in his hand. Here's $100,000. Consider it payment for taking care of my brother. As for anything else, don't even think about it. Vincent lifted his chin slightly, signaling his assistant to hand me a check. I didn't take it. I let the check flutter to the floor. Alexander gave me a long look, then bent down, picked up the check, and pressed it into my hand. His voice was as soft as ever. Gavin, you don't have to be difficult about money. A flimsy piece of paper. It so easily crushed every moment we had shared over the past 6 months. In that moment, I knew. This dream, which had lasted for half a year, was over. 4 years flew by in a flash. I sold my old apartment and moved to a different neighborhood. My new neighbor is an alpha who's recently had his heart broken. The second I got off work, he dragged me out to drink with him. The whole way, a drunk Kevin mumbled nonstop, sobbing his eyes out. Passers-by kept staring at us. One person's gaze even followed us the entire way. I offered a few half-hearted words of comfort and helped him home. He suddenly whispered in my ear, Gavin, you're single and I'm single. Why don't we give it a shot? The question startled me so much my hand slipped, and I almost dropped him. After getting him inside, I breathed a sigh of relief and turned to go home. Just as I opened my door, a voice behind me demanded, Since when are you into alphas? I froze and whipped around. Alexander stood under the dim light, his figure leaner, his features even more striking. He looked completely out of place in this humble environment. Meeting his icy gaze, I felt something slam into my chest. What are you doing here? He didn't answer, just advanced on me step by step. I asked you, when did your tastes change? I backed away, dodging his outstretched hand. That's none of your business. Aren't we over? Alexander shoved the door open behind me. I stumbled back, and he followed me inside. The door slammed shut with a bang. My back hit the wall. I had nowhere left to run. Alexander, what the hell do you want? Alexander grabbed me by the collar, forcing me to lower my head. You reek of someone else's scent. The next second, Alexander leaned in and kissed me, hard. It had been 4 years. He was still just as clumsy and chaotic as ever. When I didn't respond, he bit me in frustration. Not willing to back down, I grabbed him and deepened the kiss. When it was over, his cheeks were flushed, and the corners of his eyes were wet. I wiped them with my thumb and calmly straightened his rumpled clothes. What do you really want from me? Alexander tried to look composed as he swatted my hand away. Pack your things. You're coming with me. I froze. Where? Alexander's answer was short and to the point. My house. What right or reason did I have to go home with him? Alexander moved past me into the apartment. He scanned the place, his eyes filled with disapproval. You sold your old apartment, and my brother gave you $100,000. And you used it to buy this dump? I ignored him and turned to go into my room. The sweet, amnesiac Omega was long gone. This young master of the white family was cold and domineering. If I couldn't make him leave, I could at least pretend I didn't see him. As it turned out, Alexander had no intention of letting me ignore him. The moment I went back to my room, he called his men to forcibly take me away. Faced with a group of tall alphas, a lone beta like me couldn't possibly fight back. I was packed up, luggage and all, and delivered to Alexander's house. The second I walked in, a small bundle of energy shot out from nowhere and rammed into my leg. He didn't even cry, though it must have hurt. The little boy looked up at me curiously. Who are you? Meeting his fair, round little face, my heart was struck with a powerful blow. I wanted to ask him the same question. He looked like a miniature version of Alexander, as if they were cast from the same mold. My voice trembled as I couldn't help but ask gently, Sweetheart, what's your name? Daddy didn't tell you about me? The boy frowned, his voice crisp. My name is Noah. I'm 3 years old, and my dad is... Before he could finish, Alexander came down from upstairs. Noah, come here. Noah's chubby cheeks wobbled as he ran over. He threw himself into Alexander's arms. Alexander's cold expression softened the instant he held Noah. He expertly scooped the child into his arms. The big and little versions of each other kissed each other's cheeks. Noah asked again, "Dad, who is he?" Hearing him call Alexander Dad, I froze on the spot. Noah called Alexander Dad. A ridiculous, unbelievable thought shot through my mind, sending a wave of panic through me. Impossible. Alexander said he was going to get rid of it back then. He hated me that much. He'd even let his brother pin those baseless accusations on me. How could he possibly have kept what he called the thing that never should have existed? Alexander glanced at me and introduced me flatly. "Noah, this is that Dad got for you." He paused. My heart instantly sped up, and I couldn't help but feel a flicker of anticipation for how he would introduce me. Alexander let out a soft laugh and lightly uttered the last two words. "Tutor." Noah looked over at me. I stiffly played along with Alexander. "Noah, I'm your tutor, Gavin." Despite what he'd said, Alexander didn't let me get too close to Noah. After dinner, Noah came to find me, clutching a toy car. Before he spoke, he glanced at Alexander, who was on the phone not far away. "Mister, can you play with me? What do you want to play?" Noah pulled me into the playroom. Alexander turned a blind eye, not stopping us. I played with the little guy for a short while and read him a picture book. When the time came, Alexander had the nanny take him back to his room. I had nowhere to go. I ended up choosing the guest room next to the nursery. As night deepened, I heard the butler's voice outside the door. "Mr. Chun, the young master has requested your presence." In the middle of the night, Alexander wants me to go to him? I was about to refuse. The butler's voice held a hint of a threat as he spoke again. "Mr. Chun, don't make the young master wait." "I know," I replied, resigned, and started walking toward Alexander's room. I couldn't figure out why Alexander had forcibly brought me here anyway. Now that he was summoning me, I could at least ask him what was going on. His door was unlocked. He'd asked me to come, but the room was pitch black. The air was heavy and damp, so thick it was hard to breathe. A lump formed under the covers. The sound of rapid, shallow breaths came from within. Even if I was slow, I understood why he wanted me here in the middle of the night. Alexander's heat had started. I hesitated, stopping by the bed. "Alexander?" The covers were suddenly thrown back. Even without being able to sense pheromones, a sweet scent still rushed over me. It was enough to make anyone blush and their heart race. His face was flushed, his voice trembling. "Come here." I stood frozen in place. Lascivious images flooded my mind, completely unbidden. Years had passed, but they were still as clear as if they'd happened yesterday. I averted my eyes, my throat tight. "I'll go get the butler to give you a suppressant." Alexander's breathing grew heavier, and he said impatiently, "Gavin, don't make me say it twice." I clenched my fists. "Mr. White, this isn't appropriate." "Not appropriate." Alexander stumbled out of bed, grabbing me by the collar and asking with a sneer, "Did you think I brought you here to live in luxury?" I pressed my lips together and held my breath, trying to avoid his scent. "Alexander, I never wanted to come here." I pried his fingers off me one by one. "It was my fault for getting you pregnant back then. If you're still angry, you can report me to the Omega Protection Agency. Let them come and arrest me." I straightened his crooked pajamas and said softly, "Rain, we're not a good match. Can we not do this?" Alexander was not having it. He shoved me onto the bed. "If it weren't for you, why would I be so desperate as to chase you down? Gavin, be honest with me. You're not a beta, you're an alpha, aren't you? 4 years ago, you marked me, didn't you?" I swallowed hard. "No. Then why do I need you?" Alexander's voice broke with a sob. I had no idea what was going on and fumbled to comfort him. It was as if his heat was contagious. My own body temperature began to rise. Alexander said in a fit of self-loathing, "If you're not an alpha, then you can just be my human suppressant." He straddled me, urgently tearing at my clothes. I looked up at his flushed face and felt a daze come over me. It was like we were back 4 years ago. Alexander held my face in his hands and asked through gritted teeth, "I'm right here in front of you. Who are you thinking about?" I shook my head and sighed silently. Forget it. I owed him this. I stopped fighting, wrapped my arms around his waist, and pulled him down toward me. The sweet scent enveloped me completely, pulling me down into a spiral. I don't know how much time passed. Alexander bit down on the pillow, his cheeks wet with tears. "Gavin, that's enough, no more." It wasn't enough. Not nearly enough. He was always the one to start things. And yet he was the one who blamed me. A part of me wanted to use this to vent my frustration. Seeing the Omega flailing, trying to crawl away, I grabbed his waist and gave him a sharp tug. "Rain, be a good boy, won't you?" Alexander just whimpered in response, practically melting into a puddle. When I woke up, the Omega in my arms was long gone. A little boy was lying by the bed, his bright eyes watching me. When he saw I was awake, he gave me a sweet smile and wriggled onto the bed. Noah snuggled into my blankets without a second thought and took a sniff. "Wow, you smell like Daddy." I was so embarrassed I was at a loss for words, so I quickly changed the subject. "Where's your dad?" Noah mumbled. "Dad stole my room. He's sleeping." An indescribable sense of loss washed over me. Did he hate me that much? He couldn't even stand to sleep in the same bed after his heat was over. When he had amnesia, Alexander practically wanted to be attached to me 24/7. Now he couldn't wait to get away from me. I guess the difference between having amnesia and not having it is huge. But I still don't get it. If he hated me this much, why did he make me move into his house and help him through his heat? Noah seemed lost in thought, then suddenly asked, "Are you Daddy's alpha?" "No." "Huh? Then why were you in Daddy's bed?" I didn't know how to answer that. Luckily, Noah didn't press the issue. "Can you hold me?" He snuggled into my arms, as if trying to smell the pheromones clinging to me. Then he whispered a complaint. "Daddy's been sick a lot lately. He's always so hot, so he doesn't hold me much anymore." Hearing this, I hugged the little boy tighter. I heard a slight noise outside. The family doctor had arrived. I couldn't help it. I put Noah down and followed. When he saw me, the butler, Louis, didn't stop me. Instead, he spoke to me. "The young master has been running a fever every day lately." He sighed. "He's used too many suppressants over the last few years. His pheromones are a mess, and he's developed a resistance to them." So that was it. That's why Alexander brought me back. Why he angrily demanded a beta like me be his suppressant. It would relieve his heat, and he wouldn't have to worry about being marked. Louis continued worriedly. "For years, the master and I have been trying to convince him to find an alpha, but he just won't listen." Sigh. At this, Louis trailed off and gave me a long, searching look, as if he was blaming me. I avoided his gaze and looked at the Omega on the bed being examined. Alexander's face was pale, his expression cold. It was as if the flushed man from last night, crying and begging for mercy, had just been a dream. After the examination, the doctor said, "Mr. White, this method is indeed effective, but it's only a temporary solution. However, I still recommend." Alexander's face darkened, and the doctor immediately fell silent. His brow furrowed. Alexander stared at me without a word. After a long moment, he finally spoke. "Louis, please arrange for someone to take Dr. Evans home." Once the butler and the doctor were gone, it was just me and Alexander in the room, facing each other. Remembering what the doctor and Louis had said, I cautiously spoke. "Rain, if using too many suppressants is bad for you, you should find an alpha. I'm just a beta. I'm not much use to you." Alexander closed his eyes and turned his back to me. Thinking about why he was sleeping in the nursery, I quietly started to leave the room. Before the door had even closed, Alexander's voice came from behind me. "Don't go." He bit his lip, saying softly with embarrassment, "Hold me while I sleep." For a split second, it was like old times again. Rain never felt secure when he slept and often had nightmares. He could only sleep peacefully if I held him. I stood there stunned for a few seconds before slowly getting into bed and pulling him into my arms. I was forced to stay at the White residence. By day, I was Noah's tutor in name. By night, I was occasionally Alexander's human suppressant. Life passed quietly like this for a month, until Louis told me that Alexander's brother had found an alpha for him, and they were getting engaged next month. The news was so sudden I hadn't even processed it yet. Noah's crying cut through my thoughts. He sobbed, Someone's trying to steal my dad. I listened as Noah described what happened. He and Alexander were having breakfast when an alpha came to the house. Because of this alpha, Alexander had the nanny take him upstairs. After explaining, he asked pitifully, "Is Daddy going to leave me?" Just last night, Alexander's heat had been so intense he couldn't calm down, clinging to me and fussing until dawn. I never thought he'd have this much energy. Meeting his future fiancée first thing in the morning. Noah wanted me to hold him. I did, but I still tried to explain things for Alexander. Your dad isn't leaving you, and that person isn't here to steal your dad. He's here to be your dad's partner and your new father. That means there'll be one more person to love you and your dad, right? Noah pouted and shook his head. I don't want that. I already have a daddy. I don't need anyone else. Who's your daddy? He broke into a smile through his tears. It's you, mister. Oh wait, I mean daddy. So he wanted me to pretend to be his dad to help him fight for Alexander. I couldn't resist the little guy's pleading, so I agreed. I carried him downstairs. But when I saw Alexander laughing and chatting with an alpha, my blood ran cold, and my hands and feet turned to ice. I knew Alexander would find an alpha eventually, so I had prepared myself to face it. But seeing it in person, I still couldn't keep my heart from turmoil. Noah frantically patted my chest, asking anxiously, "Daddy, what's wrong?" I snapped back to reality and reassured him quietly, "I'm fine." Noah wrapped one arm around my neck and pointed at the alpha with his other hand. "Daddy, that's him. He's trying to steal my dad." Wah. Noah's voice was childish, but it wasn't quiet. It immediately caught the attention of the two men nearby. Alexander turned to look at us, his brow furrowed. His eyes seemed to be asking me why I was going along with Noah's antics. I hesitated, not moving forward. The little guy in my arms was crying and urging me on. I couldn't bear to see him so sad, so I steeled myself and went ahead. Before I could even open my mouth, the alpha spoke first. "Alexander, is this?" Noah shouted at him. "Yes, he's my daddy." The air instantly froze. But Alexander didn't get as angry as I expected. Instead, he gently pinched Noah's cheek and forced a smile at the alpha. "I'm sorry. Noah is a little shy around strangers. Let's talk later. Lewis, please see Mr. Lang out." The butler stepped forward at the command. The alpha gave me a deep look before leaving with the butler. Once he was sure the man was gone, Noah wiped his face with his hands. There wasn't a single tear, and his smile was much brighter. Alexander's face hardened. "Noah White, who told you to come here and cause trouble?" Noah shrank back and buried his face in my chest. "I wasn't causing trouble." Alexander's gaze shifted to me. "Gavin, he's just a child. He's not a tool for you to—" "A tool for what?" I cut him off. "Alexander, you're the one who forced me to come here, made me Noah's tutor, and even made me your—" I stopped myself before saying the rest. Alexander's face turned pale, and he bit his lower lip. "Don't fight," Noah said, looking from him to me. "Daddy, don't leave my other daddy, and don't leave me." Alexander snatched the child from my arms. "Nonsense. Why would Daddy ever leave you?" He picked Noah up and started to walk away. "Rain," my voice was hoarse. "Is that your fiancé?" Alexander stopped but didn't answer. "So, does that mean my time as your human suppressant is about to expire?" Silence stretched between us. Just when I thought Alexander wouldn't answer, I heard him say very quietly, "Isn't this what you wanted? For me to find an alpha and let you go? Gavin, your wish is granted." I stood there watching his back. My heart felt hollowed out. I was the one who told him to find an alpha. Now that he's done it, I can barely breathe from the pain. I wish I could grow a gland out of thin air to have the ability to mark him. That night, Alexander went into heat again. Invisible pheromones made the air heavy and oppressive. On his specific orders, the butler didn't come to get me. I went to his door on my own, but I couldn't bring myself to turn the handle. I could faintly hear restrained sobs from inside, like a kitten's cries. I knew Alexander didn't want to see me. In the entire villa, only Noah would talk to me. He seemed to have gotten addicted to it, calling me daddy every chance he got. It made my heart ache. but I had no reason to stay. It was time for me to leave Alexander's side once again. The next day, I started packing my few belongings. Noah hugged my leg, his eyes welling with tears. "Daddy, where are you going?" I knelt down and stroked his head. "Noah, Mister has to go home." "Isn't this your home?" he asked, confused. My throat tightened, and I couldn't answer. He clung to me like a koala, his little face scrunched up. "Don't go." Alexander's cold voice came from behind. "Noah White, come here." Noah turned his head, and large tears rolled down his cheeks. "No, Daddy is mean. Why are you kicking my other daddy out?" Alexander's face was pale, with dark circles under his eyes. He avoided my gaze and reached out to take the child. "Be good. I'll take you to the zoo this afternoon." "I won't." Noah was determined not to let me leave, hugging me tightly. "Daddy always said my other daddy was busy with work and promised that when he wasn't busy, he'd come back to be with me. Now that he's finally back, why are you kicking him out?" I was stunned, looking at the Omega in disbelief. "Alexander, what had he been telling our son about me all these years? I thought he would have badmouthed me to Noah, just like he did when Vincent came to get him." Alexander was clearly flustered, his tone stiff. "Noah White, don't talk nonsense. You did say it," Noah hiccuped. "You even showed me pictures of Daddy all the time and told me not to forget him. And you secretly kept Daddy's clothes and hugged them to sleep at night." The air fell completely silent. When had Alexander kept my pictures? And he secretly kept my clothes? Why didn't I know any of this? I looked at him, wanting to speak but not knowing what to say. Alexander looked extremely uncomfortable. I didn't. He stood there helplessly, his fingers unconsciously twisting the hem of his shirt. He looked just like he used to. Noah's face was red from crying, his eyelashes clumped together with tears. I wiped his tears and softly whispered that I wouldn't leave. "Rain," my voice was raw, "we need to talk." Alexander turned his head away. "There's nothing to talk about. Daddy, when something happens, you shouldn't just shut down," Noah said with a serious expression. "That's what you told me." I chimed in, "Noah's right." Alexander pursed his lips, his gaze shifting between me and our son. Finally, he took a step back, trying to leave. I grabbed his hand. The moment our palms touched, a shiver ran through him. I pulled him back. "Rain, you walked out on me 4 years ago. A little while ago, you forced me to come here. And now you're telling me to leave again." Watching the tears stream down Alexander's face, I wiped them away one by one and asked in a low voice, "What do you really want from me?" Alexander's lips moved, but no sound came out. He just rested his head on my shoulder. Perhaps the day's events had been too much for Noah. He developed a fever that night. After the family doctor visited, Noah slept soundly in Alexander's arms. In his sleep, he kept murmuring, "Daddy, other daddy, stay with me." "Okay, we'll stay." Alexander cooed, releasing his pheromones to soothe him. I sat on the edge of the bed, watching them in silence. After a long time, Alexander said very quietly, "Gavin, don't go. Noah needs you." He pursed his lips, his expression conflicted, and spoke again. "I need you too." His voice was soft, but it landed heavily on my heart. Taking this chance, I asked him directly what he wanted from me. Should I leave, or should I stay? Alexander lowered his head and explained in a small voice, "I'm sorry. When my brother misunderstood you back then, I didn't explain things to him in time. At that time, when Vincent misunderstood me, I thought Alexander had deliberately slandered me. But I understood now. Alexander was an Omega with amnesia. Anyone would have assumed I had taken advantage of his condition to bring him home. Without Alexander to back me up, I had no proof. I couldn't have explained my way out of it if I'd had 100 mouths. Alexander sniffled and continued, "When I said I'd get rid of the baby, I was lying to you. My brother was so angry then, I was afraid he would hurt you, so I had to calm him down first. That $100,000, it wasn't to humiliate you. You spent a lot of money on my medical bills. I just wanted to pay you back." He was rambling, his voice growing more choked with emotion. I cupped his face and gently wiped away his tears. Alexander looked at me with tear-filled eyes and complained like he used to, I tried to find you, but you moved. I couldn't find you. He buried his face in my chest, his tears soaking my shirt. Gavin, I couldn't find you. As soon as Alexander was taken away by his family, I started looking for a new place to live. Before I had completely moved out, I noticed a luxury car parked near my old apartment. It would stay there all day and only leave late at night. I thought it was strange and had a faint suspicion it had something to do with Alexander. After I moved, I never saw it again. I reached out and hugged him, comforting him in a low voice. It's okay, it's all in the past. I'm right here in front of you now. You won't lose me again. Noah stirred in my arms, still feverish and delirious but worried about us. Daddy, don't fight with other daddy. We're not fighting, I said, gently patting him. The next morning, Vincent rushed over, looking travel-worn. His gaze swept over us, then landed on Noah's flushed little face. How's Noah? Alexander said he took medicine last night. His fever's gone down a bit this morning. And you too. Uncle is mean. Noah's eyes suddenly flew open, and he said angrily, don't bully my daddies. Everyone froze. A crack appeared in Vincent's expression. Noah, how could your uncle? Uncle won't let my daddies be together. Noah's big, watery eyes stared at Vincent. A rare look of helplessness flickered across Vincent's face. Looking up, Alexander turned to his brother and said softly, Brother, I explained everything to you last night. Vincent nodded, then turned to me. Gavin, can we talk? The morning dew in the garden hadn't dried yet. Vincent offered me a cigarette, which I declined with a shake of my head. Perhaps thinking of Noah, he put the cigarette away. Gavin, I was wrong back then. I didn't get the full story and just assumed you had deliberately abducted my brother. I stared at the chirping birds on a distant branch and said nothing. I used to think that omegas should be with alphas, which is why I spent the last 4 years trying to find an alpha partner for him. But he refused, insisting on using suppressants. He only agreed to meet with Mr. Lang recently to make you angry. I've never seen anyone so foolish. As he said this, Vincent sounded exasperated and dismissive, but his eyes were filled with a smile. I was about to say something, but Vincent shook his head, gesturing for me to go back to the room and be with them. When I returned to the room, Alexander was feeding Noah porridge. The moment I entered, they both looked up at me. My brother didn't give you a hard time, did he? No. I sat down, took the bowl from his hand, and said, Let me. Noah obediently drank a whole bowl of porridge, his eyes fixed on me and Alexander. After the meal, the family doctor came by again. Noah's fever had basically subsided. He was playing with the corner of my shirt when he suddenly said, Daddy, you have other daddies sent on you. Alexander's face instantly turned red all the way to his neck. It was obvious he had been secretly scenting me while I couldn't smell the pheromones, making sure I was completely covered in his scent. Alexander was mortified. Noah white. Noah pinched his nose. Oops, Daddy, I don't smell anything. He giggled and lay down between me and Alexander. Daddy, other daddy, we're not going to be separated again, right? We won't be separated again. Sunlight streamed in through the window, falling on our family of 3. It was warm and bright. This time, the dream had finally become reality.